Okay, hello. My name's Mark Barker and I am the CEO of Shorka Systems Ltd. You guys want a problem? There's your problem right there. And you have great massive sharks that occasionally like to eat them. So, particularly in Australia, United States and South Africa, this is a significant problem. In fact, 2005-2006 statistic, there were 123 shark attacks in total, 18 of them coming from great whites. Now these are just the deaths. They don't include things like lacerations, loss of limbs, and even seeing a shark. This guy didn't actually get eaten, but he did see the shark on the report. This is quite scary for surfers, kayakers, scuba divers, and etc. And quite a major problem. You've probably also heard the saying that you've got more chance of getting hit in the head by a coconut than getting eaten by a shark, but still, do you really want to be faced with that there?
It's a real picture?
Another picture?
It's a real picture? Or
that is a real picture. That happened in South Africa there.
That's a Photoshop there.
That really happens. No, there's no Photoshop there, that happens. I've surfed on several occasions, actually seen seals in the water, and there are sharks that eat those seals, so it can happen. Okay, so what does our company, what do we actually propose we're going to do to actually solve this problem? Well, we propose the orca killer whale, transient killer whale, is a natural predator of great white sharks. They've actually been known statistically to eat them on occasion. We propose we're going to get the frequency of an orca, put it into an underwater speaker with a battery pack, find their dialect that is in their hunting mode, and by doing this, create a frequency in the water that will repel great white sharks. Now, we already have, to give you a diagram of how it works, I mean, that's a very, very rough sketch. It looks very silly, but if you can imagine a speaker at that point there, that buoy, an orca frequency is about 100 hertz. Now, they've already done some research here around Robson's Bight and areas like that up north, detecting orca frequencies that actually are specific and actually like turnaround calls. They have like a language. Now we have reason to believe that transient orcas, which are the ones that eat marine mammals and sharks, actually have a dialect that is a hunting dialect. Now we also have an understanding that great white sharks can hear a language, hear a sound frequency of 375 hertz. So if you follow the logic, a shark can actually, we believe a shark, and we have studies that prove sharks can actually hear orca frequencies. Whether or not they respond to them, that's the question. So basically we're a research company. We want funding for research to further this development and then put it to practical uses. Continuing on. The practical uses. Okay, now if you can imagine all the surfers out there in the world. Well, to give you an idea of the size of the industry, it's about a $13 billion industry. But to give you an idea of how many surfboards, if we were just going to stick to surfers and exclude kayakers, scuba divers, abalone fishers, anything that gets eaten by a shark, you're talking about 337,000 surfboards purchased per annum just in the United States. Now, that was an actually 2001 figure. They predict it's growing at 24% a year. The reason the figure is so old at this stage is unfortunately the dynamics of the market just changed so much, and there's different variations of surfing, and it's so hard to gather the data that there's a massive lag. So you've got to put 24% roughly onto that 337,000. You'll get an idea of how many surfboards are bought per annum now. Now, our proposal is if we can get a patent organised on our design there, which we have already started to organise with Nexus Intellectual Property, a Vancouver-based patent service, we can then begin doing our research and start focusing on what actually we want to do. So the main cost at the moment, what we need off our investors, is research funds and patent costs, which we estimate is going to cost around about $80,000 per annum, but there will be an ongoing fee. So we'll be doing ongoing investment fee. Now we'd have to negotiate stakeholders there. We're thinking at the moment around 20% or 20% stake in the company, but it depends how big a stake you want in the patent. So this would have to be negotiated at later stages and probably with our lawyers. We also are looking at speaking to Quicksilver and Rip Curl, larger surfing companies, to try and get the product inserted in surfboards, scuba diving equipment and things like that. Ideally we would like it in a wetsuit. Now, to give you an idea of the size of the product, we've done some research and we figure, if you probably know from basic science, sound actually travels further underwater. It's actually got a better conductivity, if that's the word. I'm not a scientist, I'm not too sure. But we believe the speakers are going to have to be quite small. They can be quite small, waterproof, and they'll be basically just in a device like this. Now, we want to insert this into wetsuits, kayaks, surfboards. We don't actually know the application yet, but we believe we can run it on something like this. Now, this is an iRiver. It has a 8GB memory, so we don't even need that much memory because the dialect's only going to be playing a cycle, which is probably only going to be maybe 100 megabytes repeatedly, and it's going to be sitting in something like this. It'll be waterproof, so it may be slightly larger, and that's about all it is. So it's a very, very simple product that can be inserted. The question is how well it will work given the research. So we're thinking about marketing at this stage. If we can bring the cost down to about $170 per unit at this stage. We figure we can probably reduce the cost more by outsourcing, but given the fact that if we got a 10% stake, so we're thinking 1 in 10 surfers bought our product over 5 years, we feel that would probably only yield about 33,700 units. As I mentioned before, there's 337,000 surfers buying surfboards annually. That's 10% of that, so 1 in 10 surfers wouldn't need outsourcing. The revenue generated if 1 in 10 surfers in the US alone bought our product would be $15.16 million. So that's just in the US. So we estimate if we sold it also in Australia and South Africa, you're talking about, I mean, this is the first 5 years here, we're looking at the US. We're talking about when you go to South Africa and Australia and then start looking at kayakers and things down the line, that's going to be a long way up there. That's pretty much it at this stage. Thank you.